Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. ccgprime.com with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as fowlibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at fowlibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer members Fight Ramen and Shukong Fu. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to your favorite ever live Force of Will vodcast. It's Office Hours featuring myself, DMO73, and I am joined, as always, by the wonderful Pokemon hat-wearing Paul Reisman.
I am your legend, Arceus.
There you go. Blasphemy. And also the beautiful Mike Rance in his last show from this apartment. Hey. We are here. We're going to talk about spoilers. We're going to talk about GP stuff. We're going to talk about, if we have some time, we're going to talk a little bit about the results of the Singapore Playmat event, which was really, really awesome. Took place this weekend. Your boy took third with Order Killer. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And there's a lot to kind of talk about in terms of my experiences with that and kind of the lessons to take from it for you as we get ready for GP season. But as always, just want to go ahead and say thank you guys so much for being here. If you like what we're doing with these hand waves and motions and talking about Force of Will and everything else, consider clicking that join button down below and joining your tutelage here as a student at Ruler School. Goes to support the channel financially, gets you all kinds of cool perks, like these wonderful spammed emotes that we have going in the chat right now. Lets us get new technology and everything else. Paul, come on, bud. We could do better than this. So with that,
don't worry.
Let's jump right in.
Let's
jump right in. We got some spoilers to talk about. First up, we have Priscia, the dangerous duelist. 1 red, 1 colorless, 7/7 with tails, swiftness, precision, and pierce. And that's it. Unless she's revolutioned, at which point she has enter, or whenever this card deals battle damage to your opponent, choose X times from the following at random, where X is the number of regalia you control. Keep in mind that each choice is a different random choice, so one dolly does not give you unlimited choices. One dolly gives you one choice non-randomly. And the modes are 500 damage to your opponent or 500 damage to their board. And she turns fire regalia you control into thunders. Repeatable thunders.
Wait, what do you mean I can't just dolly infinitely and make my opponent die? I love 3-mana combos.
You can't dolly infinitely and make your opponent die.
Unfortunate.
Game's
terrible.
This card's a great card, even outside of order decks. Like 2-drop 7/7 with swiftness, precision, and pierce is just a good aggressive stat line body. The revolution text is very, very nice. Obviously, very clearly designed to be for Alice, but we have cards that make regalia outside of Alice, and then you also consider like in Wanderer. Like, playing some fun there with Wanderer format. Val 2. Val 2 really likes this card because she's already played a million regalia anyway.
Speaking of Wanderer,
but then you have to like have order. There's all kinds of different stuff you can do in Wanderer with this.
Yeah, speaking of Wanderer format, you can also she's also a Wanderer, which means that with Adelbert you add on one more keyword to that keyword's
yay!
Swiftness, precision, pierce, tails, and first strike.
That's true.
Everybody's favorite keyword that never gets used.
Yeah, which is interesting then because she has pierce, right? So then like if she has first strike pierce and kills the thing, then she deals pierce and then triggers before combat finishes because technically of the phase. That's timing.
Well, Yeah.
You're killing it anyway, but still, timing is weird.
The precision pierce combo, that means you can attack into the thing and it dies and no damage gets dealt because of
how pierce works? Yeah, for sure. Overall cool card. I think it's great. I think it's
neat.
7 out of 10. It's Priscia.
5 out of 7, perfect score.
It's Priscia, she go fast. I don't know. Paul, any thoughts?
It's a win con.
Certainly is.
There it is.
Certainly
and
can
it's
be.
not only usable just in Alice. I think it's. Oh no, it's definitely only in Alice. Never mind. I thought it was.
Play it
I
as
forgot.
Loki.
It's
Clone it
damage
with-
based on the number of regalia you control. So
Clone it-
in Wanderer format, when you have all those zero costs regalia, you just go Death Scythe into Excalibur into whatever, and then you just slam this and you just have it.
I'd probably play this
It's
as
just funny.
I might play this as a one of in the sideboard for Loki if I'm playing Dark Alice mained. Just as like a cute little like Garmhild, you know. It's a neat little option for Garmhild. I don't know like how often I do it, but like it might replace. In my mind, this replaces Rabbit Ninja in my like sideboard lineup because it's just like I'm already kind of playing more into what she's going to be doing because I'm definitely playing Dark Alice in the main with Loki. So then that kind of feels a little bit better than what Rabbit Ninja would bring to the table for sure. Next up we have Dedicated Duel. 2 red, choose a resonator with the highest attack among J resonators you control and among your opponent controls. Destroy all other J/resonators. And that's it. Interdimensional escape destruction. And not quick cast and 1 cheaper.
Now quick cast is a big takeaway
So
here.
these things is not like the other.
Yeah. The fact that it says destroy and not banish.
Yeah.
So like there are ways that like this card just becomes dead because eternal is a thing. So like it's a normal, it's deserving of the normal. It's probably more of like this would be a card that I would put in the cube.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'd put
Right,
this in the cube.
I think this card's main benefit is the fact that we get to see nobody in this. It's a duel, but nobody has weapons. Percy's just putting up her dukes.
Yeah. Yeah. Who needs claws? Got these hands. Ready to catch these hands. And she was like, bring it on. You approaching me?
I can't beat the shit out of you, but I'll get closer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's a cool card. I think it's more of a limited or a draft card for sure than like competitive
it's nice.
successfully. Especially again
Absolutely.
because of the prevalence of things like Eternal that have kind of come into the environment. That like if your opponent's biggest thing has a bunch of smaller Eternal things backing it up, then you're like, well, I'm definitely not casting this. So probably would be more viable if it had quick cast, but without it, it's draft chaff, I think.
It's most draft chaff, and it's also like we haven't seen go-wide strategies do well in Force of Will in forever. So
Yeah.
I don't know, having a thing that makes you target a thing your opponent controls, you have to use a card up for it, and then just like, oh, I get to have the biggest thing stay. Oh, your 1/1s are gone. Oh,
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of ways to blow up go wide, let's talk about a card that doesn't do that. This is Agni, the god of rampaging flames. It's just the reverse of Rudra. So it's the same exact text. It's a villain. It's 2/2. It gets 2 +1/+1 counters. It clones its number of +1/+1 counters every turn. And then if revolutioned, deals X hundred damage to your opponent, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on it. And then applies all revolution abilities of cards named Rudra. So Rudra ordered makes Agni better. Agni ordered makes Rudra better. These are cool. Again, these are very cool cards. We have counterplay
Remember
to
the
this.
6 Jesus statues? These are them now. Feel old.
I would still argue that like they pose the same kind of threat that Jizo statues do. So it's not like immediately better than Jizo statues, because at least Jizo statues was like a better body by itself. Like this is like it comes in and creates an opportunity where it's just a 2/2 right before it gets its counters on it. So I would say that it's a different application of the idea of Jizo statues, which I'm okay with. But I think it's designed well in the sense that it's not just play this win, which is nice. Which was the same thing that Jizo statues was, right? It was like, I'm going to play it, and it feels good to play it, but if you can answer it, great. If you don't answer it, you're screwed. Like, this is the exact same style of card, which is
I think this
totally
one scales faster than Jizo, though.
Correct.
Which is kind of a big thing. Which is, obviously, we're at the point in the game where if you printed Jizo statues right now, in current era Force of Will, people would laugh you out of the building. Now you get to play Agni.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Also, the fact that this is around while Oberzuki is still legal.
Yeah, her and Rudra, for sure, both. The problem is you can't order them, but, like, even just as a regular threat, like...
You just stack counters on top. You can stack counters on him, and then you just always have stuff for your Sword of the Ominous Moon in your black-red control deck with Agni.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
I really am excited for this thing in Wanderer, too, just because, like, come on. Scaling counters in Wanderer with all the things that...
Put +1 counters? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sick. The only other thing... why is Foot in the foreground so much like that? It's making me uncomfortable. I really wish the artist chose to put the foot somewhere else. Just take the flames that were around everywhere else. I don't know why the flames would be everywhere, but the one weird leg foot like in the front there.
He's about to kick you in the face. It does trigger, Fabian. It does trigger at the end of every turn. Yes, for both the burn face and the bonus. So. Yeah, those are both at the end of every turn. Yep. Paul, any thoughts about Agni?
Yeah, this card can snowball pretty quickly. So it comes in with 2 +1/+1 counters. At the end of turn, it doubles.
So that's
then it burns.
Yep.
And that's at the end of every turn. So you're going to be dealing 800 points on your first turn damage. And someone pointed out this is a fire card in a green-based deck. So that's a little odd to deal with. But I do think there's something there. And I think there's something potentially in Wanderer to make this super fun to play with. Because you do have perfect mana in Wanderer.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have a card that we called when we saw Shiva's Wind Aura. Shiva's Flame Aura, 1 red, 1 void. Target J Resonator gains 600 attack and swiftness until end of turn. Draw a card. It's free if you play it on a Mimi that you haven't played Flame Aura or Wind Aura on. We literally called this card when Wind Aura was printed, so I don't really have much else to say. It's a fine card. Like, there's nothing really else to say here.
It's okay.
It's okay. Making Mimis go fast.
I do like cantrip swiftness cards, but like who's paying 2 for cantrip swiftness and plus 600 attack? We had attack stance for 2 years, and that card saw no play.
And it had quick cast. But also this is technically free, so like maybe you're playing that
for free.
By
cost,
assuming that Shiva is playing Mimis. This card is free.
I wonder if she was gonna play Mimi's her entire archetype.
You draw a card. So you're thinking swiftness, it gets big, and then you draw a card.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh cool.
So now we're gonna get into the real meat and potatoes of the spoilers tonight, which is our triple color spells. These were pretty mediocre last set, and not anymore. So first up, we have Tales of Fantasia. 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black. Quick cast. Reveal the top X cards of your deck, where X is the number of regalia you control. Choose up to 1 Resonator, 1 Chant, and 1 Addition from among them. Put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Or, if you're playing as Alice, you look at the top X times 2. So if you have 2, you look at 4. So on and so forth. And then you can grab those 3 cards. You can grab those 3 cards and then play them without paying their cost. This card is very good. This card is dependent on it. So there's the only thing that's holding me back about this card is going to be how well the format is at keeping her regalia under control. Because there is an element of this card to me that feels Winmore-y, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm able to cast this card and I have X of 3, like, I'm feeling probably like I'm already ahead. Like, I'm feeling like I'm probably in a pretty good spot in the game. As opposed to, like, if I only have X of 1, then, like, maybe not. it does have some advantages in that it can cast. It doesn't have any cost restrictions as to what it can cast, and it can cascade into itself. So like if you reveal another Tales of Fantasia, you can then cast that. So it has some Umir vibes, but there certainly does feel like there's enough counterplay that it's not just going to run train over everything. But it is at least a 3 of, if not a 4 of, for competitive Alice builds. More like way more so than any of the 3 cost color spells were last set.
Also, the biggest thing about Umir is that he was a resonator, so you could like copy him and do a bunch of garbage with him. You can't do that with the chant. Like you can have one go to another, go to another, go to another, sure, but like you're not going to combo off.
Yeah. Question here. To Jamie, someone is a little really lots of disappointed about Dark Alice. Not even close. I think Dark Alice is insane. Like Dark Alice is a great card. Charlotte or Dark Charlotte seem to be more powerful than Dark Alice. I would disagree. I think the Dark Alice is very, very good. And in Alice, she's a potential +6. Just by herself. Charlotte needs other cards to get close to that. Dark Alice is like, nah. Hold my unknown Mother Goose. Yeah, this is a cool card.
This card is the reason you played Alice. Like, this card is amazing.
Go ahead. Go, Paul.
So, this card is, like, by far... So, I remember something called Return of God being really good at one point in Force of Will's history. This feels a lot like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, the one thing that makes me kind of frowny face a little bit is the fact that this is a 3 cost. There's like no scenario in which it's not a 3 cost, unless you can like somehow tap your regalia to get
which IU does.
Yeah, so IU can do that. If you play flute, you can do that.
Yep.
So there's ways to make it cheaper.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it is like not seeing that cost reduction. But this, hands down, you're playing 3 or 4 of this, and in Wanderer, you're slamming 4 of this every time.
Oh yeah, because in Wanderer you're playing 0 cost regalia, so you're just like
playing 0 cost regalia.
Yeah.
Charlie Dumel mentioned Alice's World.
That's ridiculous. An addition. That's a legal addition in Wanderer format. Hey, look, you people have been asking for Wanderer support. Here you go.
Thank you.
Another reason for me to think that Alice's World should not be legal, but that's a discussion for another time.
Let's see. Triple color for that sweet $200 playset of 6 H-Stone. I mean, you're not wrong.
Just play Wanderer. You have dual stones there.
Yeah, that's true. You do have.
These stones there too.
For color fixing, it's a better format. I would argue it's a different format in terms of like deck building approach.
There's no Carlina fixing.
Yeah, so immediately a different game, right? Yeah, this card's great, and also Adam Slycard's a boss. So moving on. Next up, we have a card that's infinitely less intimidating than that card, which is the Power of Zeus. 1 blue, 1 white quick cast. Choose 1, then choose 1 X times again, where X is the number of regalia you control, -1. So if you control 1 regalia, you can use 1 target. If you control 2 regalia, you can do this targeting twice. Count it with me. It's based on the number of regalia you control. So the thing is, this card essentially lets you either target one thing multiple times for multiple pumps, or you can spread out the pumps over a bunch of different things. I think this card is a normal. I think it is sealed. I think it is a sealed card or a draft card. Maybe not even that, because you need to have ways to generate regalia for it to be anything.
I'm gonna play it in Wanderer to prove you wrong, Jeremy, and I'm gonna OTK somebody.
Go for it. In Wanderer, absolutely. In New Frontiers, my point stands.
Correct.
Yeah. In New Frontiers, my point still stands.
If this card had cost reduction, I'd consider it. It doesn't.
Oh, I do not like that flavor text, boys.
Yeah. Also, inappropriate flavor text. Moving on. So let's talk about a card that caused quite a big stir. when it was spoiled.
It's the time.
It's time. This is Rigveda. So it is 1 white, 1 green, 1 red. Quick cast. Choose up to 3. Cancel target spell. Cancel target activate or automatic ability, or destroy target non-magic stone entity. If you are playing as Shiva, you can pay one of the 3, like white, red, or green, to choose one mode, or a combination of white, red, or green in 2 to pick 2 modes. This card, if this card didn't exist, in my opinion, Shiva would be unplayable. Brandon Bremont thinks that this is the best Force of Will card that's ever been printed. Myself and Ryan Miles heavily disagree with him. I think this card is a very good card for Shiva. I do not think Shiva has enough other good stuff to make me concerned about this card's existence.
Go ahead. If no one's come to the table and they don't know what we're talking about, so apparently there are 2 factions in the Force of Will community fandom about this card. One, this card is amazing because you can do up to 3 things in Shiva, which means that Shiva is inherently overpowered. Or you're in the camp with Jeremy and I guess Ryan Miles, which I guess I'm proud of, where you see this card and you're like, it's only good in Shiva, and we don't know if Shiva's going to be broken yet, and we don't have any tournament data to suggest she's going to be broken yet. And based on what we've seen so far, she's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think the argument is that, like, it's a 1-cost cancel. And I understand that. I hear that. We're in a format where cancels have lost some oomph. Right? And so then you're like, okay, well, if cancels have lost some oomph, then I'm paying 1 to destroy a thing, which means that I'm probably still putting 2 enter effects on the chase too. So then you're having to pay 2 will and a card for something I probably paid 1 will and a card. And even then, I'm probably still resolving an enter effect anyway. So, like...
Jeremy, I don't think you are. One of the modes on this, I was about to say, this is pretty important, that we were talking about how cancels are less good this format. I do want to say, spell-specific cancels are worse this format. The fact that this cancels activate or automatic abilities is actually very
sure. No, don't get me wrong. That's very good. But then you're still inherently going -1. If you're paying 1 just to cancel an automatic or an activate ability, you haven't actually removed a card. Because I still
2, and then you move the thing you just canceled.
Sure, but then you paid 2 will to answer a card that I probably paid 1 will for, because most of the important cards that I'm playing early to order are 1 cost. So again, will card advantage wise, this card is a net neutral, even in Shiva, most of the time. At which point in time, again, still good. The fact that it has that flexibility is still very good. The fact that we have order decks and are about to have a lot more order decks probably enter the format does influence the playability of this card. And there are some people who are saying, but Carlina can play it too. There's never going to be a point in time when you're playing Carlina and you will actively be able to pick all 3 of these modes. So you're better off in Carlina doing other things.
You're literally better off in Carlina just killing your opponent.
Right. Like, this is not worth a slot in Carlina. Sure, you can cast it in her, but it's not worth your time.
Yeah, I will say the fact that this card's flexibility and power level, despite being locked into arguably the worst ruler from the set so far that we've seen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. So far that Shiva has felt my comment on the Force of Will page was, a card that now makes me think about Shiva. Because if this card didn't exist, what Shiva has shown us so far does not get me thinking about Shiva from a competitive standpoint. And I haven't seen enough yet with this card to make me go, yes, competitive Shiva.
I will say, though, I think seeing this card, obviously I don't really know what the Shiva deck is going to look like, but I do think that we have the tools available to make like sort of this green toolbox type deck, even with like a Melfi Priscia kind of feeling to it.
Sure.
That I could see something come about from that. It wouldn't be like, just based on what we've seen from the set so far, Shiva seems really weak, but in like the grander scheme of green in general.
Right.
This card could create something.
So like there is something to be said about that in the sense of using Shiva to shore up the green Prisiabox deck's weakness, right? Because we've talked about this before. What is Prisiabox's biggest weakness right now? J rulers is the biggest weakness, and bodies that stick, right? Because green just doesn't have good spot removal. It has to rely on other stuff. This is good spot removal for green, right? So it gives you an idea of like, okay, well maybe we can take that core and shift it to Shiva to then shore up the matchup. But then the question becomes, well, is the power of that the core, or is the power of that the Featsing Mooj supporting the core? So does shifting to Shiva to shore up the J ruler hate, then losing the Featsing Mooj suddenly take away some of the strength of that? Like, it's a lot to consider, and maybe that's worth considering as you look at this card, but just seeing this card as is and seeing what Shiva has shown so far does not make me scared about this card. Do I wish that they hadn't printed do I wish that they probably hadn't printed a 1-cost cancel? Probably, but I've also been the one being like, also cancels have lost some of their oomph. So like, okay. That's my take on this card. It's good, but that's as far as I go.
Yeah. So in Shiva, it's a number 13 that can cancel a spell and blow up a thing or cancel an effect. Otherwise, it's 2 mana, kill a thing, stop an effect. So I get why in a vacuum that's inherently powerful, but again, it only makes sense in the context of Shiva. And if you look at this card in a vacuum, it's amazing. But this is like nowhere close to like stuff Scheherazade had or what Otherworld Dreams was in the metagame. It's nowhere near what Severing Winds did to the metagame. This thing is not splashable. So your argument isn't completely hinging on the idea that Shiva is going to be this amazing deck. And I mean, 2 of her supers are not that great, right? I mean, or I'm sorry, 1 of her supers and then 1 of her rares is like, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like it's a card to look out for. It's probably going to be a standard of it's going to be a standard 4 of in Shiva decks, right? Of course, it's going to be a standard 4 of in Shiva. But like then you also know it's coming in Shiva, right? So you can set up situations where like you're trying to make Shiva only be able to 1-for-1 with this card, and making cancels go neutral is like, yeah, okay. Like that's fine. That's what cancels do, right? They go neutral. So like there's counterplay to it. So that's my take. It's a very telegraphed cancel for sure. Next up, we have a card that in the span of 24 hours was very exciting and then also very disappointing. This is Shoot the Mimi. It is 1 green, 1 red. Put a Mimi Tribe Resonator from your hand into the field. At the next end of turn, its controller banishes it. Force Resonance Nature. That Resonator gains swiftness until end of turn and apply its Revolution abilities until end of turn. This was immediately seen as a very, very amazing card because the thought was that it would mean that the enter effect of the Resonator that you were putting into play, if locked behind a Revolution, would trigger. It has been confirmed that creator intent is not that. So this card, if there is an enter effect behind the Revolution, will not trigger Revolution enter effects. So, yeah. You want to talk about what we were just talking about Shiva being whelming? The intent of this card makes Shiva whelming. Like, I looked at this card and I went, oh, great, let's quick cast in Chamimi. That seems great. Like, let's, shoot the Mimi to get a Chamimi in. Because then she'll be a Resonator, so she can count herself. So then you can get more Mimis out of the deck, right? And you can snowball. It doesn't do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so this doesn't even trigger your Chimimi Divine Power, the Marvel rare. It doesn't even trigger that.
It won't even it won't trigger the enter effect behind her Revolution, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, because the way it reads, put a Mimi Tribe into the field.
Yeah, it's because it resolves.
Banish it.
It's because
quick cast.
It's because it has to resolve from top to bottom.
From top down.
So this is the first example in Force of Will's history of missed timing. This card,
Oh my god!
this card forces the enter effect to miss timing. If
But
it's
is it an if effect or a when effect, Jeremy?
Oh my god! Shut up, Paul. Also, am I the only one irked by the fact that this thing has quick cast only when it has force resonance nature, but it has the quick cast symbol in the top left? Because that kind of irks me.
I get it. I get why it would be irksome to you, but
Like,
I
doesn't
think
always
this is
have
better
it.
in if you built like a Shiva Wanderer list. This card Zeus play because you have things like Megalomaniaca, but that thing is pretty bad.
so
So it looks like better Chimimis,
So-
or like better Mimis soon.
Jamie, so to point to your point, Jamie, what will it apply really? If there are any Chamimis that we haven't seen that have like a continuous ability locked behind their order, that might be it, at least according to current intent. We don't know enough as of yet, or maybe it gets changed. But as the current ruling stands, what we have heard from the World Judge Group is that creator intent was that it will create a missed timing in the enters.
Pretty much houses this card completely.
Well, doesn't the whale do the same thing? IFIS, we'll talk about the whale when we get there. It's a little different. So yeah. Good old Shiva. Speaking of cards that are insane, and are actually insane, we have Knight of Knights, talking about Babatunde's favorite machine support. 1 white, 1 green, 1 blue. Quick cast. Apply the revolution abilities of target J/resonators you control until end of turn. Then trigger its enter abilities. So this does what that Chimimi spell should have done. And if you're playing as Deus Ex Machina, you can pay it for 1 blue if it targets a machine. This card is so good, especially considering it doesn't have to target something that has revolution. It just has to target a J/resonator and then trigger its enter abilities. But then also, if the thing has multiple enter abilities, you'll trigger all of them off of this spell. This means that a single T-Tor could get you multiple turns. Extra turns, because you could trigger his ability to let you pay to take another turn. So don't count the mill deck out anymore.
Got it. I got the combo, guys.
This card is very, very good. This card is very, 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 very good.
I got the combo.
Go ahead.
The angel that makes you lose the game on enter. Use this. Lose the game twice.
Bruh.
Give your opponent the full round.
Bruh. That's it.
You did it.
That's it.
You broke the game.
Metagame
Because if you lose the game twice, you win the game.
Right. Deus Ex Machina wouldn't make anything. Why would Deus Ex Machina make a mistake like mistiming? He wouldn't. He would not allow such a thing to happen. Chimimis, though, they don't understand how time works. So,
yeah,
that it's like,
This is the god of time. He's made the time machine. He knows how time works.
He knows how to not miss timing.
He's so omniscient. He has transported into the CR and created mistiming to undermine his enemies.
To undermine
in
He
Chimimis.
went into the future and found the he went to the future and found the crossover between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Force World that happens in 2032, and he came back with the mistiming.
Yeah.
And threw it at the memes, and that's why we got this timeline.
Your concern is that Deus Ex Machina gives the least WoW buff with the order. For sure, he certainly generates his order effect. Certainly generates the least amount of inherent value. Right? He is truly determined by what you're ordering, as opposed to like Dante. Shiva, in a sense, doesn't really care what you're ordering because she's giving a board buff to everything. Alice is generating right. Deus Ex is inherently giving the least amount of value out of ordering, other than the peak. But I definitely feel like he has a lot of good stuff going for him with the peak. So it feels kind of, Deus Ex kind of feels to me like he's going to be a, yeah, you might as well order this kind of ruler. Does that make sense? Like there's no reason to not order whatever you're trying to do, because it makes a thing uncancelable. You'll be able to start peeking and having more hand knowledge. But then you have something like this, which is just really, really good, just in general. Yeah, good card. Quintillion IQ plays. Turn all your resonators into a machine kind of card. We have that in Wanderer. Yeah. This card's very, very good. There's some very silly things that you can do with this card, and I look forward to Paul trying to figure it out. Because I don't want to.
Hi, Ivy. How's it going?
Next up, we have the Light of the Unknown. Speaking of cards that are very good, this is 1 blue, 1 green, quick cast. Name a card. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it shares a name with the named card, put it into your hand. Then produce 3 will in any combination of attributes. Spend this will only to play cards that share a name with the named card. I'd like to point out that it doesn't say, and if you do put it into your hand, produce 3 will. It just says produce 3 will. So you can just have a 3-drop in your hand and call this and call the 3-drop, having no idea what the top card of your deck is. So then you can play the 3-drop in your hand. Which is silly. Overall,
rulings sometimes, whatever.
Did you say you hate rulings sometimes? So yeah, a one-time little like turn 2 into 3. This is also cool for like being able to do something like play the Violet, right? It gives justification for the idea of playing Violet in the Machina deck, because it produces 3 will in any color combination, which is cool. Obviously, you want to be calling the correct card, so then this card replaces itself and it's not an inherent -1. But yeah, leaning into the let's peek into the future archetype. Paul, what are your thoughts on this one?
Fizz said it best. She owns support. Because you notice it doesn't say machine, it says card.
Card.
Yes. And Shion is just Machina's order side, but better. Because you can just do it at any time.
Yeah, for sure. CCG Prime, we are not giving away any promos tonight because we are giving away an entry into the Carta Magica GP later tonight. Hydromonica, Deus Next needs you! Or Carlina, turn 1 cast Virgil, except you can't because you cast a card and then you can't cast Virgil.
Or you just, flip the Dante and then use that to...
No one's playing Dante Carlina. Or you can also just call Stone, pay 3, cast Virgil. Like, that's just the thing you can do.
Remember that part?
Sounds easier.
Yeah, it seems
and more legal.
Yeah, and more not cheating. Very cool card. I dig it a lot. Next up, we have the 7 Deadly Sins. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 black. Quick cast. Choose 1. Put a dark sphere from your graveyard or removed area into the field. Put a darkness resonator from your hand into the field. Put target darkness resonator from your graveyard into the field. Or if you're playing as Dante, you can do all 3 of those things. Then, at resolution, if you control Exodia, which is Amadeus, Dark Charlotte, and 5 dark spheres with different names, you win the game. Exodia, obliterate.
Excuse me, you need 7 pieces of Exodia here. Exodia only needed 5. Come on.
But it's the closest thing we've actually had to Exodia in Force of Will at this point in time.
Other than Bahamut, but whatever.
I would argue that Baja Blast was not Exodia.
No, I mean like Violent.
Atomic Bahamut. I would also argue that Atomic Bahamut is not Exodia, because this does actually require 7 specific cards.
You require 2 specific cards. Sorry, actually 5 specific cards.
Any 5 different atoms and Bahamut. Yeah. This card, even outside of the alternative win con, I think this is probably the best of the tricolor spells. I think that it's because it doesn't require anything else to get all 3 modes. It doesn't have a cost limit for what you can grab from graveyard or hand or RFG. It just has to be a darkness thing. It has the quick cast. There's no cost reduction. and it gets you a variety of really good different things. I think this card is very, very good.
I'm going to make a really astute observation here.
Sure.
Before anybody talks about how hard this will be to cast as a multicolor card with no color fixing really in general, but there's a certain stone that nobody plays.
Magic Stone of the Demonic World. Ooh. He wasn't allowed to.
So powerful, it deleted him.
So powerful, it deleted him. Oh, goodness gracious.
Crack the code.
We cracked the code. So yeah, Magic Stone. Magic Stone of the Demonic World is a wonderful card for Wolfgang. Wolfgang is going to be able to play 4 Magic Stone of the Demonic World, 4 6 Sage Stone, probably a basic Darkness Stone. Like it's not going to be difficult for him at all to be able to cast this card. He is going to be the most comfortable multicolor casting Order ruler up to this point.
Wait,
I think.
Who's talking about Wolfgang? You're talking about Dante, you mean?
So Dante, sorry, I didn't mean to say Wolfgang.
Yeah, okay.
Someone said Wolfgang.
Like,
someone said Wolfgang in the chat, and so like my brain was like, "Her." No, it's not.
Said Wolfgang. Who's talking about Wolfgang? That's not a ruler. That's not a card.
FBI got him. But yeah, this card is very, very good. Like Darkness Resonators are traditionally very good. Any size Darkness Resonator is very, very good. This can grab a Garion. Let's just cheat in a Garion.
I want to cheat Gary's into play.
Let's just instant speed cheat Garions into play, right? Like I'm down for that. I can see this card existing. Makes me think that Exorcist Mage is going to start seeing play again in sideboards. Because
we've already seen Amadeus. We have already seen.
Yes,
Amadeus. Okay.
she's the Marvel rare. Yep, the 30/30.
Okay.
Yes.
Big.
This card only misses a thing. It could say outside the game instead of removed area, and that could make it really good.
Make it really broken.
Yeah, I agree. You could just keep one of. I mean, you're already keeping your Dark Spheres in your outside the game anyway. So I'm okay with it being as it stands. Again, there's good counterplay to it. I think Exorcist Mages, as Dante becomes more popular in the meta, Exorcist Mage becomes a very nice little to kind of deal with it. So like, there's lots of stuff here. Well, 100% luck rate at competitive play with Tide so far. Hey, there you go. Cheat in Azathoth. Cheat in
Wander implications.
Yeah, for sure. You're not wrong there.
This is gonna be spicy.
This is another. Yeah, I mean, like,
let's see.
Pay 3. Cheat in a dude from hand. Pay 3. Cheat in like the mill decks from graveyard. Right. Like, hey, remember part of True Power? That like. I'd like to point out this card. I'd like to point out this.
Just throw a bunch of Griffins onto the field and just go.
Yeah. Play Dante, mill a Griffin, have a Griffin in hand, pay 3, Griffin, 4 stones. Like, let's go.
What if there's gonna be a Dark Sphere?
Oh my god.
Oh wait, and then combine that with Knight of Knights to trigger the Griffin's enter ability again, and then.
Gross. Oh, wow. So let's talk about the next Dark Sphere.
Scrolling through all darkness cards.
Yeah, let's talk about the next Dark Sphere. Dark Sphere of Belial. 1 white, 1 black, eternal. J rulers you control gain flying. So it does look like this gives us a good general theming, although the Dark Spheres most likely are going to have eternal, and the only thing they're going to do is give you the stats. So the other thing that I wanted to point out here is Odin also makes Odin is going to be a very hard matchup for Dante because it specifically says 5 Dark Spheres with different names, but the problem is if he has a Dark Sun on the field, then your Dark Sphere isn't a Dark Sphere. It's a Dark Sphere in name, but it's not a Dark Sphere in type, so it won't count. So that's a thing. Keep that in mind.
If only we had another edition that just blanked entire things during either one or both turns.
Yeah.
That would help a lot too.
Like this next one, that's not Dante's support. So this is Arena Expansion Linospharia. It is 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black. Enter. It has Eternal. Enter. Draw a card. Non-Magic Stone entities your opponent controls lose all abilities during your turn. And you can pay 1 white for it. You can play 1 white total for this card if a regalia was put into the field under your control this turn. So this stops enter effects and continuous abilities during your turn.
Hi, Featsing. Yep, canceled Featsing.
Hi, any quick cast resonator or resonator with activate abilities. Hi, Mistletoe. You can take damage now. Like, this is a very good card. This is, in my opinion, probably the best arena expansion so far. Like, bar none. This is so good that I might say, like, if you're really playing a grindy deck and you can hit these colors, you might be playing it. Like, even outside of Atlas. The ability to not have to worry about enter effects during your turn, like just having that kind of stun control that also affects J rulers, it affects additions, it affects like everything. It's very, very good. This is a very, very good card.
Only there were a way to what if I don't see it in my opening hand? If only we had a card that could just put it into the field.
I mean, like the spell from that Alice is going to be playing, Tales of Fantasia.
Oh, that's it.
There it is.
That's what we do.
There it is.
No, I think you meant Umar.
Also, you can't Feeth Priscia me now. Like, like just stick this on board and watch Feeth Mooja go. I don't have a win con anymore. Unfortunate. Oof. Ooh. This card is very, very good. If you are in any of these colors you're playing it, yeah, probably, for sure.
Yeah, and it has Eternal.
Yeah,
so
it protects itself. Yeah, very good card. Very good card.
And it replaces itself, too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not only really good, it just replaces itself.
Yep. And last card for the day we have is Delphineus, the Whale Hero. 2 white and 1, 1,000 tails with flying. J/resonators with flying you control gain barrier. Enter. Destroy all target J/resonators with flying your opponent controls. Revolution, give it swiftness. Enter. Up to 3 target J/resonators gain flying until end of turn. Draw a card. So keep in mind, this can give flying to your opponent's stuff. And then kill them. Because of how you can stack the triggers. This card is very good. Loki says, thank you. Loki says, thank you very much for a big barrier kill something. Like, I'm currently playing a single copy of Galileo in my Loki decks because it's nice to have a big, like, barrier thing to be able to put in. I'm just going to replace Galileo with this. Like, this is just better. Like, insanely so. This is just better.
I'm sure this is a dolphin, not a whale, but that's fine. Whatever.
It's also a beast.
Yeah.
Because of course the catch-all race from Forswell. This card is very good. This card is very good. It's like I could see it being more so necessarily better in
this is so sad.
Draft. But, like, this is a 3-drop that I wouldn't... Especially because we're in an era, again, where I'm not worried about cancels. This is a 3-drop that I would feel comfortable playing. As, like, a tech 2 of, right?
Guys, straight up, we have a card called the White Whale, which has Resonator Race Whale. They missed such a golden opportunity.
We could have had the second one. Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, no.
You know what that means? That means Zeus Alice is a whale.
She is a whale of a card. Yes, iFizz. Yep, you can absolutely... you could stack the 2 enters, because the 2 enters technically go on the chase at the same time, and as you are the owner, you get to pick the order in which they resolve.
Yeah,
so
it's
you
not
could
like the Umi card.
So you could stack it so that the destruction effect will resolve after you've given things flying. So, like, this is great. It replaces itself on enter. It gives itself barrier because it has flying, and it can kill up to 3. So, like, by itself, this is pay 3, net 0 for getting a card, +1 for drawing a card, +4. I guess a +4 for 3. Like, seems pretty good. seems pretty.
Like this just hoses fallen angel tokens. Makes me happy.
Oh yeah, also that.
Just bye.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is a solid like 2 or 3 of as like a backup if you don't have IU.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree.
There you go.
I think you play a couple of this in Alice for sure, and I think it immediately gets slotted into Loki sideboards, especially since we have Loki enters the Game of Gods, right? To like give Garmheld more versatility, which is what we called like way back in set 1 with Garmheld. We said like Garmheld's gonna get better as more sets come out, and we've already talked about like 3 better Garmheld cards in just these first couple weeks. Then we can target it with Knight of Knights to re-trigger the enter effects if needed. I mean, if you want to pay 3 for it, I guess. Or you can play it in Machina. I suppose you could play this in Machina because you'd make it a machine. That's fair. That's a fair point. It's a fair point.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that's all it. That's it for the cards. I am less whelmed by Deus Ex. I'm more excited about Deus Ex than I have been in previous weeks. I am still just as excited about Alice and Dante. I am still very much whelmed by Shiva. My opinion of Shiva has, like, I go, okay, she's not just straight Garbo, but I need to see more. Especially with that shoot the Mimi ruling as it stands. So those are my thoughts at the end of this week of spoilers. Paul, Mike, what do you guys think?
Thank you.
I think cards good.
Good stuff. Mike says cards good. Paul?
I like trading cards. I would say that I have not found a card in Deus Ex that is bad.
Yeah.
Name me one. Like which one is it? Which one's the bad card?
I don't think there's a quote unquote bad card yet in Deus Ex. I think there's a lot of neutrals, but like like neutral can be good, right? Ow, just stab myself.
Yeah, I think Shiva becomes the butt of the set, and the only reason her foot is in the door is because of Rigveda.
I would agree,
and she needs it to protect her 1-drops that aren't good until later in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Her Game of the Gods is better in Kaguya than it is in her own deck.
Yeah. And that's not to say that we could still be missing stuff for her, right? But at this point, now that we're getting to the arena expansions, I'm pretty sure we've seen every super rare at this point. So we're just looking at rares and below. So if Shiva's top end is this, it doesn't give me hope for her bottom end in terms of card rarities, as like to flush out the deck. A bad green. It's the new Brad, but she's probably still better than Brad.
Listen up, guys. We'll give her perfect mana, and then one good Marvel that doesn't work with the support. What's good?
Better than Brad. Still better than Brad.
It's true.
So yeah, that's that. I do want to talk about a couple things. So first off, if you haven't already seen, the GP schedule has been announced. It seems to be that at least for now we have 4 total GPs that are all online. They are taking place March 5th and 6th, being hosted by Carta Magica, which we're going to do a giveaway for an entry there. I'm going to put the link to their event. You can sign up for it right now. Boom, there's a link. You can go check that out. Go get signed up. That is open to international people. You will just have to pay more for shipping. That is happening on March 5th and 6th and has some beautiful, beautiful entry promos for entering in that tournament. Everybody who enters gets a copy of all 5 of these beautiful duet cards, as well as Angel of False Hope, I think, which was the Marvel rare. The one that you could target 3 things and then lose the game, potentially. So that's that, as well as if you're top 32. Sorry, nope, that's the wrong one. Top 32 get the number 13 anti-magic promo, which is also gorgeous. And top 8 will get the Uberized order of Nyarlathotep. The next one is taking place the immediate next weekend, being hosted, we believe, by Games and Geek. That is March 12th and 13th. Signups for that will be coming soon. Entry promos for that one will get the other angel. That one is the Marvel Rare. The other angel in that one, as well as the duets. And then the top 32 prize for that one is a beautiful looking Necronomicon barrier. And then, of course, the metal plates. The one from Games and Geek, as far as we know, will also have cash pricing to top 4. And then the next events are April 16th and 17th, which is everyone's favorite anime trope Wandere format, because they misspelled it on the site. Everybody loves Wandere. But Wanderer format on April 16th and 17th. And then we have a nice big gap until September 17th and 18th, which will back to New Frontiers. I am going to speculate that the big gap is to potentially make room for some in-person events when we see how COVID is doing it during the summer. That is a guess. That is not based on any kind of information. That's just a really long gap between events, and that was typically the part of the year where we had our in-persons before. So I think it's smart to leave that gap for potential more GPs. The other thing that's not on here is any kind of discussion about invites, which is a little interesting, which makes me think, I've talked to some people about it, is it feels like there might be an opportunity of, because of how COVID is going, Japan just started another state of emergency, that this might just be like an exhibition year with like cool tournaments with cool prizing, so that they don't have to like schedule another Worlds and then cancel it. Again, so we might be doing that. Again, this is based on pure speculation on my part, just based on this information we've had for less than a week. I don't know. That being said, if that is the case, you can get ready for FowFest 2, because if there's not going to be a big tournament in November, we're going to host the big tournament in November. We will be doing the Forcible Festival 2. I've already started talking with some people about prize support and what that kind of looks like. So be ready to come travel to Michigan and come see us to come do a new tournament with us. Now, I think that's it. So let's do this. For those of you who are here, we are going to give a free entry into that tournament. So I just need you to just put your name in the chat here, and before we go, I will draw the winner, and then I will have you email me so I can get you in contact with Carta Magica so you can get prepared for that. They are online webcam tournaments, but Carta always does a really good job with them. Again, they are available to international, so even if you are international right now watching us, you can get entry into that. So yeah, if you had a setup to play online, you'd play Rustin WW, who's in the chat right now, has a wonderful video talking about how to get webcam play set up very easily. I recommend you check that out. So yeah, give me your names in the chat. Let's get you some entries here. And then while that's going on, I do want to talk about the Singapore event. This happened this past week. I played in it with Order Killer. There were 26 players in the event. We did 5 rounds. Some things that were a little bit different is that we did not do a top cut. We just played 5 rounds of Swiss and went to parent standings. And because of that, we were sudden death in every round, instead of the usual draw rules. Some other things to note is that the meta did not have any violets in it. There were no Odins in it. There was only one Nyarlathotep in it. So meta influence there was pretty huge, as well as pairings played a huge role. First place ended up being Kaguya, second place with Feith Mooj, and then third place was me with Order Killer. That top 3, I will say this, that top 3 was super interchangeable in terms of competitive success. And I say that because going into the last round, there were 2 Kaguyas, Feith Mooj, and me that are being undefeated. And I got paired up against Feith Mooj in round 4. So just because of pairings, if I had gotten paired up against one of the 2 Kaguyas, then that matchup the finals probably would have been me versus Kaguya, the other Kaguya, or me versus Feith Mooge. So, like, any of those top 3 decks in that environment could have been first place. The pairings had a big influence on that. I was definitely out for blood. Rustin was there. Dude, you could get the top 8 deck list. We're working on that for sure. Yep, we're working on getting that from Converging Wills. So the takeaways that I had from that weekend were that it is still very much a meta where there is a lot of open space. It is still very much a meta where meta calls have a big influence. Like the fact that no one played Nyarlathotep, I think, outside of one person, and that no one played Odin at all, I think definitely had an impact on what made its way to the top. And it was also very skill. I would argue that it's still very much a matter of skill rather than just what best deck you're playing. Because I would argue that based on your pairings and based on what matchups you play into, a lot of decks could have been very successful in that environment, which to me is great. I think everybody who played in the event would agree that that was the case of what the meta felt like in terms of the variety and what could have done well. And I think a lot of people in the community agree that that is a very fun meta to play in. So as we get ready for this next GP, where you will have the new set for a week before the meta, keep that in mind as a lesson learned, that it's not just about building the best deck, because there are so many different options, and what other people bring to the table will have an influence. So making a really solid meta call will play a big role in terms of how competitively successful your deck choice is. So I'm going to do an entry now while you guys talk about whatever.
Jeremy's going to be doing an entry.
Yeah.
Talk about.
Okay, so my favorite new Hisuian form has got to be Weird Ear, because that thing is such an improvement on Stantler in every single possible way.
To be fair,
I mean, what else do you want? I mean, this thing is like a freaking huge white deer. It's like, by the way, Princess Mononoke shout out. By the way, this is definitely still Breath of the Wild, but it's just Pokemon. And here's a white deer to confirm that. Weird Ear is the best. And I'll fight you.
I caught an Alpha Scyther today.
Oh, nice.
It was level 40.
I know you caught it too.
It was level 40, and I was like, I'm gonna just try and throw a feather ball at it and see what happens. And it worked. I was like, that thing's 25 levels higher than my strongest Pokemon. We did
it. It is my strongest Pokemon.
Yeah, and now it is my strongest Pokemon.
So now you can get Cleavor or Scizor.
It's just gotta be Scizor. My angsty metal boy.
Snip.
Snip. Snip. I think I've got all the entries here so far. So let's do it. Free entry into the Cartomagica GP goes to Robert Green. So you really should work with Rustin to make sure you get that online play set up so you can play the event.
Do it.
So Robert, I want you to go ahead and email me your name and everything else and your username and all that jazz to rulerschoolcontent@gmail.com, and we will get that information over to Cartomagica so that you can get your free entry into the tournament and get some of these beautiful, I mean, even just entry into this. So I will say this. In order to get the promos, in order to sign up, they ask that you commit to at least 3 rounds, which is a fair commitment because these promos they're going to be shipping from Canada, and these promos are gorgeous. That being said, well worth playing at least 3 rounds of just having some fun playing Force of Will, supporting the company, supporting Carta, and getting some beautiful promos out of it. That being said, looking very much forward to the competitive season, looking very much forward to streaming, looking very much forward to planning Foul Fest 2, which is going to be... To give a hint at what I'm working at, I'm probably going to be able to set it up so that just for entering, you get a textless Duel Stone. To give you a thought of the scale that I'm talking for this event. Like, hello, you paid $40 have an $80 card. Like, to start. That's what I'm starting on. So I've got a while to plan it. So just know that Ruler School's got your back for something cool later this year. That being said, we have another, let's see, pre-release is 2 weekends from now, so we probably have one more week of spoilers. Next Monday is Valentine's Day, so we probably won't be here. So that being said, we'll see you for pre-release, hopefully. But if we maybe come back and do spoilers, otherwise we'll see you on our Discord. You can check us out there. We talk about the spoilers there every day. And until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined, as always, by the now backwards Pokemon wearing hat, Paul Reisman.
The second best has got to be Ursaluna. I mean, look at that thing. It's a giant freaking bear you can ride. Like, why would you not want that? It can sniff out things like old scrolls that have history on them and stuff in poem form. It's like Beowulf, but Hisui region.
Cool. And then Mike Rants.
It turns out Paul turning the Pokemon hat around backwards is actually a Pokemon anime reference on top of the Pokemon hat being a Pokemon reference. So that's pretty cool, actually. I feel like Paul's really digging into the lore right now, and he's really just making a name for himself as the lore master and as the main Pokemon master when it comes to the Hisui region. I feel like that he went back in time and really just kind of did his own thing with his Breath of the Wild style off.
Yeah, it's good. So IFIS, again, textless duel sign up would be if you come to the Force of Will Festival, which is an in-person event that we will be holding towards the end of the year. That's something that I'm working on that I'm pretty sure I can make happen. But like, just to give you a sense of the scale of the event that I'm trying to put on. So it's not the Carta Magica event. These promos are for Carta Magica. Force of Will Festival is going to have those textless duels. Anyway, that being said, have a good night, everybody. And until next time, class dismissed.